This episode was sponsored by Brightside Cinema Incorporated, who is a supplier of digital cinema production equipment. They are a small, dedicated team trying their best to make your rental experience as easy and as satisfying as possible. So if your production does need to rent some digital equipment, you can contact them at www.brightsidecinema.com, or you can call them at 604-251-0680. That's Brightside Cinema Incorporated, helping the Vancouver film production industry grow stronger by keeping things honest and simple. This episode was also sponsored by Nuala from Ottawa, Ontario. And a kind of funny story goes along with this sponsorship. My buddy, Craig, from back in the 80s when I was a teenager and I hung out with a lot, was visiting here. And I hadn't seen him in years, but we have mutual friends and we ended up meeting up. And he told me that him and his daughter, Nuala, listened to the podcast, and they liked the fact that I talked to the people that work behind the camera and gave attention to the vast majority of people who are responsible for these big productions and movies and stuff. And I thought that was awesome. I never thought much of it, and, it was good to see him. So about a month later, I put out a little campaign saying I need sponsorship and help with continuing this Tons of Productions podcast. So I put this out, and if I don't get an email from Craig saying, oh, his daughter wants to help out with the show and donate her allowance to the show, and that almost made me tear up. I mean, oh my God, right? Because she's fairly young and it's her allowance, and I was thinking, no way, I'm not taking money from a young girl like that. Oh my God, but and I told him so. I said, just tell her to keep her money. And he said, no. He said, if your child, that's bad parenting. If your child wants to donate and be generous and help out with some sort of cause they truly believe in, you should let them, because that forms who they are as a person. And that made a lot of sense to me. I don't have any children, and I never really thought about that before, but I was so appreciative. So Nuala, if you're listening, thank you very much. I'm extremely proud to have you as a sponsor, and it makes me overjoyed that it reached a lot of people and they believe in it that much. So thank you again. I really, really appreciate it. Anyway, welcome everybody to the Tons of Productions podcast on this Monday, June 10th, 2019. I have a chat today with Bren Macdonald, who is a filmmaker in Vancouver here. I met him when I was editing one of my independent shorts, and then when I was working on Supernatural, I ran into him, and then he was coming up in the actual professional industry as well and doing independent projects on the side. So he's really interesting and has tons of great advice. So here you go. Here's Bren Macdonald. You are listening to the Tons of Productions podcast. We're good.
Excellent. My God, we're going
Excellent.
towards some inevitable conclusion, and we will record every scintillating moment of it.
So how you doing? It's good to see you, man. It's
Yeah,
been
I'm
a
doing
long
all right.
time.
Yeah.
So anyway, what are you working on? What are you been up to?
I just wrapped a Disney show that's been going on for like 7 months since October anyway.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm working on a couple of my own shows, own stuff, own projects.
Oh yeah, of course, doing
Yeah,
the indie
yeah.
stuff on the time. But your daytime job is a show, right?
Yeah,
and what are
yeah.
you doing on that show?
Set dresser.
Oh, you're a set dresser now.
Yeah.
Okay, because when I met you, you're a PA.
My career has been bizarre. I think the best short summary is jack of all trades, master of none.
Well, that's what I looked at on your IMDb. I looked at all the things, and I'm like, Jesus Christ! You got grip, stills, camera, video, op, which I don't know. Is that the satellite thing? Like you set up the
No, I don't think I was credited for that one.
I got it from IMDb.
Was it on Supernatural?
No, it wasn't
Yeah,
Supernatural. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I've everything from craft service to
that's on
stills.
there. Craft service, electrical
Yep.
department. What the
Yep.
hell? You're electrics now? That's so funny.
Not for a few years. Yeah, master of none.
Yeah. Well, no, that's not true. I've seen quite a few of your little independent things that you've done, and you aren't a master of none. You know what you're doing, and you're gaining a lot of experience, right? Because you've only been in the industry for how long now?
Well, do we count when I started film school?
You know what we'll do? We'll start where you started.
Okay.
Where were you born? Where's your beginnings?
I kind of grew up in I was born in Steveston, but grew up in small town Alberta. Moved around a little bit, but high school was in a small town called Invermere, which is just on the border, and actually is in Mountain Time Zone, though it is in British Columbia.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
it's right on the edge.
Yeah, and just had, like most people in like high school, is just like, I don't know what the heck I want to do.
Yeah.
And I back in 2000, I was one of the guys in the year ahead of me, kind of was doing a video for an assembly for the Terry Fox run.
Okay.
And he had to bring one of the people that were in, ironically enough, looking at my physique, it was a super fit class. For those who cannot tell, I am on the larger side. I am robust.
Yeah. But I know what you mean, though. Showing up in a place where everyone's super fit and while you're like, oh, god damn, It's not like I'm the fittest guy either. I've been in that situation. Yeah.
So he needed to get somebody from the class in order to do it, and I have a personality that is reasonably likable, so he decided, hey, Bren, I want you. And so I got in and fell in love with film through the editing route, because it was entirely using material that was pre-existing through other documentaries. Probably illegal, but who the heck cares?
Yeah. Well, no, but it's like working in post to give. That's how I really fell in love with it, was editing. I really watched putting all this stuff together and seeing how it does, because you don't know. If you're a person who's never edited before and you watch things, you think, oh yeah, that's they film in order for one. That's what you think. I did anyway, right?
Oh yes, absolutely.
And everything just falls together, right? But no, there's some trickery and magic in editing for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And once you start doing it, you fall in love with, I think. Plus, you learn really quick.
Yeah. No, it was definitely something that I kind of fell in love with the craft, fell in love with like the process of editing, and 2 projects with him later, I'm looking at it just like, well, I don't want to do more editing. It's a small town. There's nobody else that's doing this. So I ended up buying a camera to shoot my own stuff, so I have something to edit.
Nice. And what did you edit on? What was the program?
I actually started with Final Cut Pro 2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I bought that. I bought a copy of that with earnings from A&W.
so because that was expensive back then too, wasn't it? Like a couple grand?
Well, not quite that, but it's
$1,600 or something silly.
Yeah, it was well over $1,000.
Nice, and you went. That is passion. If you save up to buy something like that, it's not. You put your all into it, and then got Final Cut 2. That's so funny.
Yeah.
And that was the new one.
That was the latest version.
Right, I've cut on that once, and I imagine back then the rendering was outrageous. You waited forever to render footage.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure.
If you did any sort of effect, you had to render it before you could even watch it. You couldn't even see a preview of it. It was just like unrendered screen.
Yeah.
I think it was even red. And just like, you cannot view this. You do not have permission. You have got to render this, bitch, before you can actually watch and see if it works. So much wasted time.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Especially you were really young. Obviously, how old were you?
Like I don't know, like 17, 18, something around.
You were a kid.
Yeah, absolutely.
And learning. So, what you came to Vancouver to go to film school?
Absolutely.
Capilano?
Yes, indeed. Capilano back when it was a college. 2003 is when I went there. I took a year off to work.
It's a university now?
It is a university now.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I always thought it was Cap College. That was always in my head, right? But then again, I knew about it back probably when it was a college.
Yeah. So my first year was a small class in on the Sunshine Coast.
Okay.
They did an experiment and they did 1 year in the Sunshine Coast, and it was the first and only year that they did over there.
Okay.
Yeah. Meant that we had very few resources. Like we basically had to make our own fun, as there wasn't a lot of resources that there were in the larger campuses.
Right.
So it was
just gear, you mean, for
gear, also just like kind of environments, like if we wanted to do extracurricular
locations
stuff.
yeah.
I mean the group of us, we had, once the school had let out, we had there were bars, so we could drink, and we could just make our own stuff, and so we did a lot of both.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you had a lot of fun doing it. Was your, and now it's a total changed, right? Because I went there when it was the new building.
Yeah.
And they have the whole filming wing kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Well, they I mean, it was it's night and day. I mean, it's went from they had the film industry or the film program in a temporary building that looked like it was condemned, and now they have the best campus, arguably, in the Lower Mainland.
Oh yeah,
film. Yeah.
I'd say, like, after I looked at it, I was like, wow. Yeah. And when I met you, I was editing. I was editing the kids show, the Coco show.
Oh yeah. I remember
and you
that.
came
I
in
that.
the place we were doing it or whatever, and that was my first time on Final Cut. I've always edited on Adobe and done it PC way or whatever. So that was my first time seeing that, and I was just horrified because I had a deadline and there was all these long rendering sessions with this. Oh my god! And I'm just walking back and forth pacing.
I was a Final Cut fanboy for the longest time, until such time as what was it? What the hell was that? Final Cut X? It's like, fuck that, It was something that they took the for those who were not aware and following it when that happened. There was a transition from Final Cut Pro and Final Cut Express and like iMovie. They instead of kind of continuing those things separately, they decided to amalgamate the workflow to make it easier for people that were coming up from iMovie to transition into the kind of like more professional and kind of workflow.
Right.
And they put it's still all the power, but they put the power kind of like under the hood, and it completely changed the workflow. So you had industry people that were, making their living, and they've kind of like forced people to go towards a new workflow that was completely counterintuitive to the way that people were doing it, including myself. And
Because they use this like professionally too.
Yeah.
It's not just
it's
indie
their
people. It's like
livelihoods
yeah.
that were dependent on this program.
I'll get the new program, but it sucks, and you got to learn everything over again.
It's not that it sucks.
No,
it's
it
just like
doesn't
a
suck, but-
completely different workflow that
Right.
alienated a lot of people, and a lot of people like I essentially drew back, and I don't actually edit my own stuff anymore. Like,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I mean, I have Premiere, so I ironically went over to the Adobe side.
Yeah. Well, the reason I like the new Premiere is because you could cut while you're rendering too.
Yeah.
That was a
Absolutely.
huge thing
Absolutely.
for me. I was like,
Yeah.
what the? I have to wait? Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's
They're competing back and forth.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, what matters is, does it work for you? Does it allow you to do the process that you need, the processes that you need to do in order to get the film done? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't fucking matter what you edit it on as long as the thing works.
Right.
Yeah.
No. And the big thing about the film industry, they always use Apple and Mac. That seems to be the one they all use so far. So but basically when they change that, they have to, well, they could use an older version, I guess. But a lot of people want to keep up with the Joneses. They want the new, whatever it is, Final Cut. They want the brand new one. And then, do I have to learn all this stuff? I'm going to go back to the old one. Right? But who knows? People are probably riding on it for a long time.
Yeah.
I would imagine so. Yeah. So what, after school, what do you start doing? Is your just independent stuff, or you started doing? Because I met you also when you were doing satellites for Supernatural. You were setting up satellite dishes for their trailers, and you'd come in the morning and get breakfast, and we'd talk, and then you'd go. Do you remember that?
Yes, I absolutely do. It was fun.
I was like, what a sweet job. He's leaving. Like I'm here for the day. I got to stand here for the next 12 hours.
Well, that was an interesting process. He also made a lot more money even at
yeah, true, probably.
It was well, let's back up from
Yeah.
So after second year, I got in the industry. I started as a PA. It was one of those periods where it was unusually busy, and when you have periods of time where it is unusually busy, rules kind of get bent out of necessity. There was a pilot that I was working on, and there was like the hall was empty. There was nobody that was able to kind of help out the craft service woman.
Right.
So she's like, I need a second person. I need somebody. Is there any way that one of the location PAs can help out? And I kind of randomly was selected out of a hat, and I
you get lucky that way. You never know.
Absolutely. And I impressed her.
Nice.
Because it was just like it was like. I had the philosophy that if I didn't work up a sweat, I wasn't earning my paycheck, and I was hustling. I was working hard, and I had done work doing restaurant stuff. I mentioned that I worked in A&W.
Yeah,
I also did another summer working at another restaurant in the kitchen as a short order chef or whatever.
Oh, so you're a cook too?
Yeah. Jack of all trades, master of none. So, long and short of it is, I ended up getting in the union back in 2005.
Wow.
As craft service, which is not
That's
at all
crazy. Yeah. That's your first. You walk right into a show called being crafty? That is like.
It wasn't a show call.
Oh,
it wasn't a show call.
Okay. It was just helping on the.
It was pilot, and then that was a short stretch. But I did a lot of kind of like day calls doing craft service. I was able to crafty lady had a second truck, and I was able to operate off of her second
Wow.
truck. Because like she would be getting the truck rental, and I would be kind of operating off of it, and it was just one of those things. Just when industry gets ridiculously busy, things operate in unusual ways.
It is. I've been many times where I go on a crew and there's 3 of us that know what's going on, and there's 12 that have worked a week or 2 days, and you're like, what do you mean you don't know what rolling is? Are you serious? You don't know what first team means? That was my book. That's why also, because I've had many times where there's 10 people. It's not just 1 or 2, 10, where they don't. They're kind of like, and they're not bad people. They just don't know. They just, whatever. Yeah. No one ever told them, and then they're like, oh, I don't know. Are you going to be quiet at times or whatever?
Yeah. When things get really busy, the department that suffers the most is the location department.
Yes,
as you have anybody that is experienced, that is quality, they get sucked into other departments.
Oh,
and all the incentive is towards that, because PA, even though there's a lot of other benefits to it. Because you're working insane long hours, so it doesn't necessarily seem that. But PA is a minimum wage job, and every other department gets paid more. Even on the lowest budgeted production, any other department is going to be more beneficial to you in the long-term career than in locations. So what that means, you have people with weeks of experience leading people with days of experience, and nobody has proper training. And it's times like those that I'm terrified, because we are at the, we are guests.
Right.
And when we're ever into kind of like a scenario where people say, no, we've had bad experiences with the film industry. I don't think we will allow you to film in here, and we're not going to allow you to have the permit, so you're going to have to go elsewhere. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. It's so easy for the industry to disappear and dry up, because there's no places that will allow us to film, because of the department that has the most direct relation with the public, and
they're inexperienced.
And that's where mistakes happen, and it only takes one bad production to ruin it for the entire industry.
You burn the location, that's it.
Yeah.
No one can film there again?
Absolutely.
The thing that I think keeps Vancouver going is the fact that our dollar's really low, or it's cheaper to film here. And they get tax breaks. They get a bunch of things. But when the tax break came and there was that whole thing about, say, Vancouver Film or whatever, really what happened was all of the big companies stayed here, and it was all the indies and lower budgets that went to Toronto and went east, because they got the better tax break and whatnot, it seemed.
Well, there's
CW stayed, and MGM and Disney and all the big ones.
There's a few different things that come into like why we are such a hub, and why we've got why we have continually been a hub for service
of the U.S. companies.
And it's not just about the tax break.
No, we're close to L.A. There's a lot of other things.
Yeah. So we share a time zone with L.A. Not only are we close, not only is it something that people could hop on a flight in the morning, be on set, and hop on another flight in the evening. Not only that, we've also got 4 of the 5 temperate zones within a very short driving distance. Like we've got in like Soyos and all that. We've got kind of desert area, so it's very easy to do kind of like a road. I mean, we were talking about Supernatural earlier. That show is a road show.
Yeah.
It is a show.
They drive around in their car. They go town to town.
Yeah. And it has, for 14 coming on 15 seasons, been entirely filmed in the Lower Mainland.
Oh, yeah.
That shows the variety of locations that are available to productions. So it is not just the dollar factor. There are a lot of different reasons. We have a reputation of being able to represent any town in the United States. That's why we have that nickname, Anytown USA.
Right, or Hollywood North. That's too. I heard too. But all the different locations for sure, and the professionalism of the people that work here. It's once I started and I realized, oh my God, everyone above the line is American, but anything under director, there are Canadian directors. I'm not saying there's not, but anything under that is all Canadian, it seems.
Absolutely.
Except for a couple times, like I saw some horse wranglers from New Zealand and stuff. You get the odd thing like that from around the world, but most of it's all Canadians, and they're really professional. They've been doing it for 30 years, 40 years, and they know what they're doing.
Ever since X-Files. Ever since
First Blood, or First Blood too.
Yep.
Beachcombers was on location, northern BC more. Right?
Yeah. On the island, I think.
Oh, was it on the island?
I thought it was on the island. Maybe I'm wrong.
I thought it was such a. Here we were talking about a long time ago though. But I worked at Bridge Studios for a while, and that is where First Blood was filmed with Rambo, and then and that's when it started to change over to a studio.
And in Hope. You know,
oh yeah, they went to Hope and they did a bunch of stuff, but that's where their production office was, and that's where it all kind of started, right? And it's probably not the first movie, but it was the first big feature film, right? And then after that, it just got more and more.
Yeah. There were a few people that were instrumental in pushing towards that and establishing us, and the people that were initially starting had a great deal of passion.
Oh yeah. And there's, let's face it, there's a lot of money in BC. This is the richest city in the country, if not Toronto and Montreal are, we're always every year close, but Vancouver's up there, and there's a lot of money here. And I think a lot of the big actors and a lot of the big producers and stuff live here as well as LA. So it really helps the economy for sure. It was a lot bigger than I thought, and once I realized and I started doing the industry, like getting more gigs and getting more work, then I realized it gets to a point where they're so busy. There is the thing is, well, taking them off the street, taking someone off the street, they don't know anything.
Yeah. No, as long as you do have experienced people like around them and above them, you can find a certain amount of balance. People can get experience on the job, and
that's a real huge thing. You're like, I was never a film school person. I just joined it because friends had been in it, and I tried it out, and to be a PA and background, let's face it, it doesn't take a lot of schooling or intelligence, really. But it was something I realized, oh my God, I should have discovered this when I was 17. I discovered it when I was 35. I'm like, what the hell? I went through my whole life, and now I love this. I was blown away. My first one was The Watchmen. I walked onto a huge, like, comic book movie set, and there was 400 background.
Oh my God! I wish I could have worked on the Watchmen. I'm trying to remember. I'm pretty sure that I was working in the industry at that time.
Was that 2007-ish? 2006?
Somewhere around there.
I'm pretty sure
ago. That I was working in the industry. I saw that. I'm just like.
But anyway, after your crafty thing, what happened after that? What was the?
There was like the challenge that you always run into is like in craft service, you have to buy your own groceries. You get reimbursed for it, but
right.
But there's always kind of like a balance, and if you're not making like working the full kind of show,
right,
then you have a little bit of difficulty reaching parity, and I wasn't the best with money. So I got myself into, racked up a lot of credit card debt because I wasn't I was getting to the point where I was making more than I was putting out, because I was doing like background crafty,
Right.
not like main unit crafty for the entire stretch. But
The days or background you're on.
1 to maybe 3 days a week.
Okay.
And
Did you have to have
close
your first aid for that?
Yes.
Okay.
So the challenge that ran into it is I was just starting to get to the point that I was past the break-even point, when there was some legislation that was coming down the pipeline that scared the shit out of me, because it was something that, like, there's always an uneasy kind of quality when you have the person doing first aid and the person doing food being the same person.
Right.
And so there was some legislation that was coming down the pipeline that was about that you had to have a kitchen separate from your home and separate from your
Residence.
crafty wagon.
Oh, okay.
So it had to be
So you
something
couldn't
that
prep
was
it on
separate.
your truck, is what you're.
They wanted to have a separate kitchen that was inspectable at any time, and that was something that was that kind of spooked me enough that I decided to take a little bit of a temporary sabbatical that ended up lasting 5 years.
Oh, wow.
I ended up. It was supposed to be temporary, but I ended up working security.
Okay.
And that,
For film?
no.
Oh, really? What was it? Where was it?
Like security, and I was working over at Riverview.
Really?
Nights at Riverview
Oh,
for 2 years.
my God. Well, that prepped you. That
I
prepped
know,
you.
I know, absolutely. I mean, I do have some ghost stories.
I bet. You have some wicked ones. So do I. Oh, my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's an awesome place.
Yeah.
For the listeners who don't know, Riverview is a pretty well, almost 80% abandoned mental hospital. They have cabins where they have different people in a different section, I guess, but in film, it's rented out to the film industry quite a bit. It's basically exclusively film now.
Yeah, it was a mental hospital that was operational from like close to 100 years or 80 years or 70 years or something like that. And in the 80s, 90s, they kind of like phased out, and they're just like, okay, all the people that are part of these certain buildings can go back to their families. Well, that's that didn't work.
You mean go to Maine and Hastings and live on the east side?
Yes. We seem to have this seems to have backfired. We seem to have taken away the support structure for a number of people with mental illness, and they can't go back because that building's closed now. So
there's TV filming in there. Yeah. What's important here? TV or mental illness of the public?
So I mean, the thing that is important to remember is that it's never been entirely abandoned, because there's not one company representing. Like, this is a massive site. It's 2 kilometers from one side of the site to the other.
Oh,
and there are 70 buildings.
70?
Yes.
I didn't know it was that many. I thought it was like 30. 70?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
You know, you have like transitional housing for people at the
those are the cabins I was talking about.
Like the cabins. Those are people transitioning coming out from doing their stint down at Colony Farm. And then you've got various buildings that are still active, that are like out away from the main stretch, that were actually being built when I was working there, that are currently being used actively for people with mental health issues,
like actual medical mental health stuff.
Yeah. And then you've got like BC Ambulance has space out
right
there. So, like, there are a number of companies that have kind of a stake, including the one that rents out to film production. But that's one of the reasons that it's like you can't take photos on site, because it's not really because of concern over you taking photos of the place. It's for concern of the residents and people that are still on the site.
Oh yeah, no, I took a bunch of photos when I was prepping,
Yeah.
and then I was told, hey, don't say it's Riverview if you're going to post it online. They're really touchy about that. You could get sued or you get in trouble. And I was like, really? Like, this is an abandoned building, right? So so I obviously followed the advice or whatever, but
Yeah.
I have so many stories. Well, being night security guard, I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah.
So basically, it is center lawn, east lawn, and what's the bottom one?
You're talking about Crease?
Crease.
Yeah.
Crease. And those are the three major ones that people film in? Well, center, not anymore.
No, West Lawn was the one that's not anymore.
Is it West Lawn? Oh, okay.
West Lawn is the one that there's too much concern over, like, asbestos and all that.
Right.
So a lot of people, like, when it was active, people were drilling through walls and such, and you don't really want to do that with a 100-year-old building.
Right. No, they cemented up all the doors.
Yeah, and I was working on there when that was happening.
Oh wow. Yeah, I've only ever worked in Crease and East Lawn.
Crease, East Lawn, North Lawn, and then they've got a few others. As when production or when buildings went were transitioned out of active use, they became open to filming. No.
And then because why not? It's sitting there empty. Why not make money?
Absolutely. So there's a lot of random buildings that get used. I wouldn't even begin to be able to give you like a full list of all the places.
Oh yeah, no. But because there's 70 buildings, obviously. But for me, the big ones were Crease Clinic, because I have zero fear of ghosts. I love it. I get a thrill like I do someone does on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
It's something like, oh, there's a ghost. Some people are like, there's a ghost, and they run away. They're freaked out.
Yeah.
So I was on for 8 days at Crease to prep it.
Mm-hmm.
And the people I was with, I had 2 PAs with me, and they wouldn't go anywhere. Or Rachel Smith. Rachel,
name rings a bell.
She went to Cap too, and you probably went to school with her. She helped me do the Coco editing.
Oh, yes, okay.
Rachel. So anyway, it was her and then a buddy of mine, Adam, and we were there, and they wouldn't go anywhere, and I would go by myself. I'd go up to the 4th floor. I'd go every bit, taking pictures everywhere, and I never actually saw an actual ghost. I just had some weird experiences. So once I went up to the 3rd floor, and they have these long corridors that they kept. Obviously, they kept patients in that would lock, and it's almost like a cell. It's like maybe 4 by 4 feet. I don't know. It's little, and on the floor on each one is a circle. And I'm wondering if they walked in the circle and wore down, because the tile on the floor is worn in this circle in each of the cells.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went in there, I looked at it. I'm like, oh, this is kind of freaky. And there was probably 6 on either side of these doors, and some were open, some were closed, and it was all right. It was normal. I just walked in and looked around. Went downstairs. My friend Rachel says, oh, I want to see where you went. I'll go with you. So we went upstairs. We went into the same corridor, and every door was open, and it was freezing cold. Like, to the point of, whoa, it was cold. It was weird. And literally, when you walk through the door from the hallway to this corridor, it dropped, 15 degrees in temperature, 20 degrees. It was unbelievable. And she was flipped right out. She was like, oh my God, was this like this? I'm like, no, not at all. So things like that. I would go down in the tunnels, walk around in the dark myself. I don't care. Bring it,
Yeah.
But what are the big ones for you? I'm sure you have a lot. So give me the major ones. There's a couple that you probably have.
Well, coworkers, Crease Kitchen in behind Crease building.
That little building.
Yeah, that little building. So there are a bunch of freezers, walk-in freezers with like massive doors, like 300-pound doors.
Yes.
So when you walk into any sort of building, you close the door in behind you. So you close and lock. There's no one that is going to be going in there before, and there's no one that's going to be going in after. So they go in, they do their checks, and then one of those freezer doors slams shut. So they're out of there like a shot, and what
what the hell?
one of the two is like, I will never go back in there ever. I'm not going in. No, 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 no. Anyway,
See, I would run over to the freezer door and be like, "Show me." Make the hair stand up in the back of my neck. I love it.
Yeah. And in the first week that I was working there, so first couple of weeks. So one of the things that I was doing is going through and doing like checking every single door. Now I was in various different buildings, and I was doing this so much, handling the keys so much that my fingers were black.
Oh, I would imagine.
Oh yes, so
It's constant.
is in North Lawn, which has 3 levels, and this is in the morning. About 2 or 3 in the morning. There was sheriffs that were downstairs that are the only people that use that building, and they were long gone. And so I entered in the building, locked before I come in, locked behind me, and alarmed. There is nobody in this building.
Right.
So top floor, go check every single room.
Right.
And then I go to the middle floor, and I start checking the east wing. And the first thing I notice when I enter into the wing is this low, ominous sound coming from the air conditioning. I'm like, oh my God, if I ever do a horror movie, I want to remember this. Oh, I love this so much. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're like, oh.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm just like checking every single door as I was doing before, and then I hear something coming from the floor above me that I remind you that I was just there and checked every single.
Like footsteps?
No, what could be described either as a woman sobbing or a baby laughing. At that point, I just calmly turned around, walked out, armed back up, went back to the office.
Wow.
Yeah. Then there's like a female patient or something that people have seen in the upstairs windows and all that. So
from outside, you see it or whatever.
Yeah.
I've had someone say, "Hey, you can see someone in the window," and then I look up and I don't see anything. So I've never actually seen a ghost, but I've had a couple instances where doors shut, you can hear things. You're like, "What the hell's going on?" Liaison with has to do that every night. When we're done, she goes and checks every door, and I'm like, "You never get scared. It takes a certain kind of person."
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stories that you hear are really overblown. Like,
right?
Yeah, like heating has been disconnected in certain areas. So walking into an area and finding that it's suddenly very cold in here. That's because there's no heat.
Right. Exactly.
So I'm not saying specifically that your encounter was that, but very well might have been.
No.
Like
the reason I bring it up, and it was noticeable in me saying it, is because I walked in that corridor not an hour earlier, and I did not notice the temperature. It was the same as the hallway. And then the second time I was like, what the? So, but that's just, I don't know, my experience with that one. Other than that, just hearing stuff and you don't know. And I've heard of a guy that was in the tunnels in Crease, and he was down there filming some B-roll while the whole team moved upstairs, and he turned around and saw a little girl, and he flipped out, and he ran out, left the camera, everything, just ran out. And then they called him. They're like, what's taking him? They're calling him on the radio. No response, nothing. So they call his cell phone. He's like driving away. He's like, I'm never coming back to that building. I don't care. Fire me. I'm not coming back. He was so freaked out. So who knows, right?
They're more scared of you than you are of them. Grow a spine.
So anyway, so enough of the review stuff. So what happened to get you out of there? Like, how did you get back into film? What was the because you were obviously doing it while filming was going on there, right?
Well, I was I went off that side and did some other stuff, and I would. Always kind of had an itch and did kind of like side projects and tried to get things going since 2010. 2009 and 2010. I was doing a kind of like a web concept and trying to get it off the ground. But I went back to take fourth year of film school.
I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they introduced it, and they
It was a
offered it
new
to
thing.
produce.
I think someone told me about that.
Yeah, so went and did the fourth year and kind of fell back in love with it and
Sparked the interest again.
sparked the interest. I mean, what I had this kind of issue. I was in a bit of a depression back 2011, 2012 when I was doing it. 2012 was a bit of a bad year for me. It's just in not a very good mental space.
Right.
I had like a whole bunch of like effort that I'd put into various projects that just hadn't come through, and it's just like, well, what the hell am I even doing with my life? Working security. I have no love for security. I'm barely making any money, and actually, when I was going back to school, because I'd reduced my hours, I wasn't making enough, and it was one of literally, food, rent. I don't have enough to pay dues. Well, I'll get to it as soon as I can, but I need to concentrate, get through this, just put on the blinders and go through it. Well, I was. Turns out if you don't pay your dues, they will kick you out.
Oh yeah, no, that's it. Yeah.
And it's reasonable and relatively inexpensive to pay your dues. It's like $80 a quarter, and when you're talking about IATSE, IATSE. Let's be entirely reasonable and entirely accurate with this. So working like not working as many hours. I mean, I didn't have enough money, and I was lost my member in good status. I lost my member in good standing qualification
with IATSE.
Yeah. So ended up kind of like being in a like 10 years since I started this and having to start at ground zero. I tail end of 2012, I got started working for a guy that incredibly grateful. This was when I started doing when I started doing the satellite technician.
Okay.
So one of the guys that was like one of the drivers had also did satellite. So he needed a technician to actually set up and run. And he was kind of like friend of a friend's father.
Okay.
And I was kind of like in difficult financial circumstance. I needed a job. And I got to be able to get a job with him. It was essentially minimum wage.
Right.
$10 an hour. But I would my day would look like is I'd start off doing the setting up the satellite for the 2 stars, the 2-star wagons, and then I would go and I would be doing editing and shooting and other things for this guy's kind of startup production company.
Okay.
And I did 2 seasons of doing that.
Nice.
Yeah. And what that did is it actually trained me and built a better foundation for kind of like documentary videography. So it was one of
better
those,
eye.
Yeah, just it made me a better cameraman. It made me a better editor. And tail end of 2013, I actually discovered a love of photography.
Yeah, I noticed that as well on the BD photography or whatever.
Yeah.
BD Macdonald photography.
BD Macdonald photography. Yeah.
.com.
I don't have a website. I've been working on it back.
Oh no, it was on FS Stoppers. Is that what I noticed?
I do have a thing there. The my most recent and current stuff is on Instagram.
Okay, great.
BD Macdonald photo, and that's also the extension on Facebook.
So yeah, you fell in love with that, and that was so that now became your side gig on top of film.
Yeah. So 2014, I basically self-taught myself photography, and 2014, I believe, was also when I stepped back into doing film work. And because I was no longer a member in good standing with IATSE, and because it was like $2,000 to get back into good graces with IATSE, I went back and started at the bottom, working PA, and that was really where we started working together.
Yeah, when you phoned me today, you get PA Bren. So I'm like, oh my God, I've had his phone number the whole time. I've been emailing you, right, or something, Messenger or something.
Facebook. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So kind of worked my way back up, did a few kind of show calls. I ended up getting, making enough that I was able to pay the back dues and
thing.
yeah,
Oh,
so
nice.
I was able to get back into good graces, and now I'm a member in good standing. So the challenge, though, in the meantime, I no longer had my access to a craft service wagon. I no longer had my first aid ticket, so I'm in a place where just like the one department that I'm in, I no longer have the qualifications to
be in it. Yeah.
So I had to do more work in order to afford getting the qualifications, and also work to get a second category. And for me right now, that's set deck.
Right, that's set deck's your thing now, and
yeah.
Do you like it?
Absolutely.
What was the show you were just on?
It's a Disney show called Gabby Duran and the Unsittables.
Oh, that's right. You're saying Disney. I've never heard of that. Okay.
Yeah. It's a fun little concept. Girl babysits aliens.
Okay. Is it first season?
First season, yes.
Oh, that's why I haven't heard of it. Whatever. Well, that's cool. And it's amazing how much stuff films in Vancouver. It's just amazing. I've never even heard of it. But when you work in film, like I've always said, you're very selective with what you watch.
Yeah.
There's two types of people. There's people who are entertained, and there's people who are entertainers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think. And if you're an entertainer, you don't have time to watch all this everything. Did you see that? Did you see this? Did you see that? No. I don't know. I mean, it's okay. Put it this way: one of the shows that I was really loved and got into was Breaking Bad, or not Breaking Bad. I was sorry, Walking Dead. I watched all of Breaking Bad.
Okay, right.
Walking Dead. I started watching Walking Dead from the beginning, but then after about the fourth season, I think I lost interest and I stopped watching. And that was the first series where I stopped watching, because I watched all the Sopranos, I watched all the Dexter, I watched all of these big series shows and thought, wow. And Walking Dead was one that I was right into when I was working. But then as soon as I lost interest, I just, whatever. I'm working so much, I'd rather watch something else.
Yeah.
So it has to be one or two things on the hot plate for me to watch, and that's it.
Yeah, I find I have a hard time getting into shows to watch, because when I'm not working the insane, at a minimum 60-hour weeks and upwards of 70, 80 hour weeks. I'm doing videography, photography. I've had years where that has been my sole income. They've been tight, but I've been able to do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's like I no longer have a place where I have to say, hey, this is my hobby. No, I make a living at it.
Yeah,
I've been doing photography since 2013. I am a photographer.
Yeah, exactly.
I am a filmmaker.
It's only been 6 years. You're an amateur, right? How long does it take? Oh, after 20 years, you might say, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, but I think that if you're an artistic type and you are a creative type, then it just comes out of you. That's who you are. It's not a job. Like that's where when I started PA and I started working background and doing all this kind, I could do it because it wasn't a job. I was like, really? You're gonna feed me? I get to do what? Well, we're gonna pay you. Just go sit there and make sure no one goes in this door that's locked and no one can goes in anyway. Okay. And then I sit there. And they're like, "You want food?" Okay, you eat, you wait. 3 hours later, you want food? Like, and it was one of the. I couldn't believe it was a job. I couldn't believe it was a job. Like, even though it was long hours, that was the real challenge.
Yeah.
I had to. I'm not saying I never worked hard. There was days where I worked real hard, doing plywood days, doing whatever. There was days where you're sweating, but there was a lot of days, like 80% of the time, I'm sitting there watching the parking. I'm sitting there watching whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And even if you work on set, it's just when they're rolling, you got to make sure that you're on point. But after that, when they call cut, your time's kind of yours until they go again, kind of thing. Even though you have a boss and you have a team that you work with. But not hard to make compared to other jobs I've done.
Yeah. It's I hate days where you're just standing around for those are the longest days. Like
when you're really busy, it just goes
Yeah. Can I tell you about the longest day?
Oh
that
yeah,
I ever
of course.
did?
Yeah, of course. You tell me about anything.
This is back when I was first. And by the way, I have spent many times being that idiot on that set. I just want to say that. Props. Book promotion. Am I the idiot on set by Mike Parnell?
Yeah.
Oh, available right now for your reading pleasure on various platforms. Amazon. Also, you get a physical copy on Amazon and all that stuff. Yes.
Thank you. No, it's on everywhere. I went through a place and self-published through a place in Victoria, and now I got them to distribute for me, so I give them a part of the royalties. Nice. And it's worldwide. Now my book is now available in Israel, in Russia, Ukraine. Like what? Anyway.
Awesome.
So
I've this is back like the first show that I ever worked on, and now I have at this point no vehicle, and the time is downtown Spanish Banks or something like that, and I'm living on the North Shore, and it's at 5 a.m. There's no way that I can actually get there via
transit.
Transit. So what I did is like, all right, well, fuck it, I'll take a taxi. I'm so nervous that I actually don't sleep the night before.
Oh no.
So I'm not necessarily the best day. Now this is also the first prep day that I've done.
So and no food, no crafty,
and no realization that there's not going to be any food or crafty or anything like this. So I'm watching a parking lot. I'm like in the middle of summer, very freaking hot, not prepared at all for this. And eventually, like 8 hours in, I get some water, and
you're probably very sensitive to sunlight, seeing as you're a redhead, right?
Yes. It took me years to actually discover that I was a redhead. I thought I was blonde and dirty blonde, and then I grew a beard, and it's red.
Oh, so your hair was blonde all your life when you were young?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
I was like bleach blonde.
Wow.
Kid, and at like 6 years old, and then it gets darker. And now, yes, I have a grand beard. By the way, for anybody listening and not actually viewing this on any sort of camera, because there is no camera in this sound booth, I have a prominent beard. I look like some sort of Viking. Some sort of Viking with a rather prominent beard that goes right down to my nipples.
You looking for an acting gig? Because you could do it.
I'm not an actor. I just play one on TV. So, anyway, I'm not having slept. And the people are not necessarily the most happy with me because as I was doing my paperwork and I kind of like looked down for a minute and I looked back up and someone's parked in one of the areas that I was supposed to make sure nobody's parked, and well, they're gone. So fuck.
Yeah, that happens.
Holding parking for people that are coming in. Yeah, it was not necessarily the best of days. And then crew comes to start doing the filming, and so I hear my name over the radio. I didn't actually hear what's going. This is coming into hour 14, and I'm a little bit loopy. I'm not feeling the best, and it's like the day's almost done. I'm so glad to be about to go home. I hear my name. I didn't hear what it was, and just like go again. I don't hear it, and then you can't go until they relieve you. So
Right.
hour 15 comes and goes. Hour 16, or 17, 18 and a half hours.
Oh my God.
On no sleep. And and also now 18 and a half hours later, transit once again is not able to get me home. So another cab ride back. 80 there, 80 back, $164 was what you were getting at that time. So worst day on set that I've ever had, longest day on set. Now I've worked longer, I've worked 23 and a half hours, but never have I had a day that has felt as long as that.
Oh yeah.
And I was shaking. I honestly think I had minor heat stroke at the
Oh,
end of that day.
probably. Yeah.
And insult to injury, they never called me back.
Oh no. They don't even call you back. That's ridiculous.
Well, yeah. That things got better.
That's wild. Well,
Yeah.
for me, it was I stood for 24 hours once. It was the day the Earth stood still. Keanu Reeves. It was at SFU. It was 53 PAs, I think, 50 something.
Oh wow.
Which is insane for the amount of PAs. And I had only done it a few times, so I didn't know. They put me on this grass hill to watch this gear. No chair, no nothing, no building to lean on. It was like literally in the middle of nowhere.
Oh God.
And I'm standing there watching this gear, and there's so many PAs, and they're doing so much stuff that no one's coming to relieve me to go to the bathroom or anything.
Oh God.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I get I call for after it was about 2 hours after breakfast, or it was like probably hot sandwich or whatever at 3 hours, and called to be relieved, and they're like, oh yeah, someone's coming to relieve you, and an hour and a half go by, no one. So I had to go. It was like, okay, I gotta leave this gear. I have no choice. I ran to the bathroom and ran back, kind of thing, and thank God nothing was stolen or whatever. But I had no choice. It's either that or go right there at the school. Like, come on. So I've had long days like that, but oh my God, taking a cab there and back, that's insult to injury. And then they don't call you back?
Yep. Yeah.
Wow. Have you worked for that ALM again?
I've seen her. I've seen her places here and there. Yeah.
Some people are bad at their job. Like that to me is someone bad at their job. They should be checking on you, and they should be answering your calls, and they should be doing a lot, especially if you're new. They know you're new. Right? It wasn't like you were really experienced, because you would have been calling whoever, you know what I mean? It would have been you would have taken care of business. Where back then you're all timid and you're all like, okay, I won't call, I don't know, right? Because that's where I was when I started. I was the idiot. That's why I wrote the book. I'm like, oh my God, I was an idiot to myself and an idiot to the crew. You can go both ways.
Yeah. Anyway,
and
things got better.
yeah. You gotta learn to take care of yourself when it comes to a lot of things like that, because no one's gonna do it for you. If you gotta go to the bathroom, you gotta fucking pipe up and say, "Hey, man, I'm going to the bathroom." You know what I mean? Like, take care of this now, because if you don't take charge of yourself, then people will walk all over you, or they'll just forget about you. And that's even worse. I've seen people. I had a buddy who PA'd one time, and he was up on the up in the mountain somewhere. I can't remember. It was what's the name of the place? I forget. Anyway, he was up in the mountain, and he was watching the generator, and there was a bunch of PAs up there, and they weren't near set or anything. Well, they wrapped, and they forgot about 2 PAs. The van driver was going to get the cones up at these generators that were up at the thing, and when he drove up, he's like, "What are you guys doing here?" They wrapped like 2 hours ago. And he's like,
Oh, God.
what do you mean they wrapped 2 hours? He's like, oh my God, good thing I had cones here. You would be here all night, right? They're like, what do you mean? So they jumped in on all the gear in the van. They didn't have seats or nothing. This is the location van, so it's filled. And they're like, just to ride down to the bottom of the hill. And they were so mad.
No kidding.
And never went back to that show, even though they were supposed to go the next day. They didn't answer the ALM's calls. They were like,
I don't
screw
blame
you.
I don't blame them.
And that is someone who, if you forget about someone on your team, you're doing not a good job. You were like, and you're not only making enemies, you are showing to the production that you can't do your job properly.
Yeah.
There's too much on your plate. You're too brain scattered.
Yeah. I know one guy who's now works as an ALM. He's a good friend of mine. He had a show that had him watching kind of like some gear until it got picked up.
Right.
I think it was like a bin, a garbage bin. Well, communication breakdown. The transport decided that they were going to do it the next day. Nobody told him. So 36 hours.
Oh my God!
And he was still new at this point. He didn't have a cell phone at this time, because right in that kind of period where people don't necessarily have cell phones. Way back in the day. Way back in the day.
Oh yeah, that's.
I remember half the people had cell phones, half the people didn't, and it didn't affect your job. So,
how old are you now?
35, I think.
35. So I'm 50 this year.
Oh, hey!
So
congratulations, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah,
happy birthday to you.
But as far as cell phones, for me, the reason I say this is because your generation, I got 15 years on you without cell phones, right?
Yeah.
So back in the day, we literally, it was pay phones and beepers, and it didn't exist. And then I had a friend on here who said when they started in the film industry before cell phones, there would be a guy standing at a payphone near the set, wherever it was in location, with a hip sack full of quarters. And you were the set cell, and you would call the production.
Wow.
And they know to go to you to call the production office if they needed to, because they have to keep contact. Now it's cell phone, obviously. But anyway, sorry to interrupt. But it's funny to me that how the cell phone has changed the game.
It's changed everything. Absolutely. Not just film. Everything.
Yeah.
Every aspect has made things a lot more efficient. As a complete aside, why is it that space age technology still sounds more advanced than the communication age technology?
I wonder that too.
They had enough computing power of a calculator.
Yeah.
Now we have supercomputers in our pocket, and yet we have the lame moniker right now of we're living in the communication age.
Well, it's because of the internet. That's what
I realize this, but
I know what you're saying.
Smart technology has made us dumber.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. And how many things I see where Elon Musk has come up with this thing where it's a recognition of the internet, but it is it's a headset you wear, and instead of using your phone to look things up and whatnot, you can just think of it. Where was Bren born? Boom. It comes into my head. Oh, he was born here, and this is the address, and this is the whole thing. And then you're like, okay, if it's online. And I forget what do you call it. It's a neural link to the internet, which is craziness way above. You. Now you're at that generator, you're like literally, Bren, come save me from the generator. I just think it. You're like, oh, Mike's calling me.
No,
it sounds far out there, but this could be the next thing that's normal. Who knows? Literally, the cell phone has changed the game to a point where now everyone has a smartphone.
I mean, we are, in a very literal sense, according to the original definition, we are androids.
Yes.
No, like we are having an extension of our brains. We have at our fingertips the ability to reach out to anybody on the planet, practically.
Yeah.
And we are able to...
Hence my book available in Israel.
freaking awesome, man.
No, but that's what I mean. Like the internet has done
Yeah.
something. I would never do anything like that, but
Yeah.
it's got to a point where it's instant knowledge looking at. But they also think that we're going to be androids to the set. Like we're going to integrate that into our bodies, and we'll become what do you call it when you have what do you call a living being that has a computer or there's a word for it. I can't even
Cyborg?
think. Cyborg. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. I'm sorry, brain fart. We're eventually we become cyborgs. That's the idea.
Yeah.
And apparently you put this chip in, it regulates your health and your heartbeat and knows if you're going towards any disease or prone to it or anything like that. And it's really wild. We're in a technology age that will change everything, and it'll also change the film industry.
Yeah.
How many things you watch now where they create things that they didn't before. They can use green screen to make it seem so real.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have to say I love like one of the coolest things that I've seen in terms of like advancement of green screen technology. If you're like out in the boonies or whatever, this was actually a Canadian invention and won special recognition at the Academy Awards. They've essentially got walls of like inflatable walls. So instead of erecting scaffolding, they just like inflate it, and until like once it's fully inflated, it's actually incredibly like impervious to a lot of the elements like wind and all that, because it's got a little bit of
because the Watchmen was like they had containers, like shipping containers stacked 4 high and like side by side. It was unbelievable, and they had a green screen draped over it, and that's what it was. But now they would have that inflatable thing.
Exactly. I worked on thing called the Alpha, or just released as the Alpha.
Okay.
It was filming as Solution.
Okay.
It's a bit of the age. Anyway, so it had this giant blue screen background because snow, and there's one day that is like an absolute miserable day. Wind blowing at like hard to walk levels of and then rain and
100 miles an hour winds.
Yeah, exactly. And these walls pretty good once they're fully up, but vulnerable once when they're in the process. So they actually got damaged, causing a delay because of the wind. So once everything's up, they start filming. They're doing the filming, and then the worst thing that could have possibly happened. The sun came out. So the first AD had this incredibly dry sense of humor. It goes on the radio. Please make a note on the DTR. Expensive delay due to sun.
Wow. And no excitement at all. Like totally yeah. When people work those kind of hours, though, you just whatever. They just give up. They throw their hands in. They're like, okay.
Another kind of saying that I got from him that I absolutely love, just like safety meeting, because safety is no accident.
That's hilarious. Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. But it's so wild when things don't go the way it's planned, and everyone, like in film, when they set things up, they work around a couple different things. And one of the shows I worked on was in this big park, and it was supposed to be raining. It was supposed to be overcast, same sort of thing. And of course it wasn't. It was blue skies and sunny. And the whole story they filmed up till then was raining, and they can't do it. So we sat there for probably 6 hours waiting for it to overcast. It never did. So they finally wrapped it. They called it a wrap and whatever. But that whole time they were getting, they were trying to do a film of the shot, and they would get the special effects guys to hold big hoses and hose down this tree so it would drip rain on the actors. So it was raining.
But it was so sunny behind them. You can't fake that, right? So funny. But literally, those people are paid to come up with solutions. And every time you get one of those things, they're like, what do we do? What do we do? And they always, even if it doesn't work, they try it.
Yeah.
I found many times where you're like, that's not, it doesn't matter. Try it. So I can go back to the LM or I can go back to the director or whatever and say, hey, we tried it. It didn't work.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they're saying, did you try it?
Yeah.
You don't think it'll work? Who cares what you think? Go try it.
Yeah, there's a story that one of my professors told where, coming in magic hour, most beautiful time of the day when everybody is too exhausted to take advantage of it. And they're just trying everything to get the light that they need. They can't get it. They can't get it right. So the guy just like looks at his hands. He was white, and this was the only reason it could work. He just throws up his hands to bounce a light on their face, and it and it worked. So they filmed with him using his hands to bounce the.
That's so funny. Hey, you never know, man. I mean, anything it'll work.
Yep. Hey, you're wearing a white T-shirt. Come over here.
Yeah, you just stand right there. Okay, you're good. Yeah. No,
take on this cue. You're going to take 2 steps to the left.
Oh yeah, or how many times in indie world, like forget all that stuff. Like in indie world, you have to use everything in your environment is the best you can. And I've had times where I redressed the same room to look like a different place. And have to, because that's the only have this one location. So we'll film everything on looking at the kitchen doing this and nighttime and dress the window so it looks like nighttime and then turn around as daytime in the living room and it's a totally different apartment.
Yep.
And that comes from trying to have the not having money, basically. Having the point where you have to make magic out of whatever you get.
Yeah.
So, and you've done, when I looked on IMDb, you've done so many shorts and so many things, right? But it's it's one of those things where you're in the world where people help you for nothing and then you help them.
That's a favor economy.
It goes back and forth.
Yeah, you break your back for somebody with the understanding that they're going to reciprocate. They're going to do the same for you, because it's, when there's, like, for independent production, there's not really a lot of money going around to make it properly. Like to make a short film, even a basic short film, where you're actually paying people what they're worth, you're looking at $100,000.
Right.
What you can get access to through competitions, and not to undervalue competitions like these, but they are kind of the only game in town. You can get access through, Story Hive, Crazy 8, Cinovate. You can get access to $5,000-$10,000.
Right.
So, and that's not really going to be going to your crew. So the way that you can get around this is, you scratch my back, I scratch your back. You bust your ass for people who are going to bust their ass for you, or to be able to get a credit that advances your career in other ways.
I found that. Oh yeah, exactly. The credit is the currency. Yeah. If you're giving someone a credit, they're like, okay, you give me a credit on IMDb, I'll come for you. Yeah. And then and vice versa. We got this other thing, you come with us. But when there's so many different aspects in Canada. Yeah. That help artistic people with film and with books and with whatever, that it's unbelievable, really. It's unbelievable. It takes a lot of paperwork and a lot of headache to get through all these things. But I just talked to I just ran into Shannon Kaplan, who was one of my last interviews like a couple ago. And
I enjoyed that episode, by the way.
Oh, she's an amazing person, and she was telling me that Canadian media funding opened their funding up to podcasts. And to look into it and whatever, because I said I was seeking funding and some support to help, because I'm on fixed income and whatnot. So this is it's not expensive, but just to help with the cost kind of thing, and get more advertisement really online, social. But that was and I looked at it through Telefilm, and I thought, oh, this is really cool, but it's just one thing. There's a lot of people around the world where I've applied.
I want to take this moment to tell listeners that the project that I met Mike Parnell doing was a children's production program that he was editing, like full-on Barney-level children's production.
Yeah, I directed that. I hired all my friends that were PAs. My first and second were PAs I worked with. That was Rachel Adam at the Riverview I told you about. And worked with the blue screen and did all this kind of stuff and ran a team of 20. And people were kind of impressed that I could do that. But when you work with a team already doing PA work in like professional things like Supernatural, Arrow, and Flash and all that, you get used to it. Mm-hmm. So it was really nothing for me to. But I had friends that don't work in film, and they come and they're like, "What? You have 20 people working for you, and they literally, like, you're the boss. When you say, oh, I need this and that, it's not, I'm telling people what to do. They just go do it. And they're making very little or nothing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But that in the real world seems miraculous. People don't know that. They don't know that's the way people behave within film. Yeah. If you don't do it. So it took a while for me to realize that, but now I can, I enjoy all the camaraderie and all the connections and all the things, because that's what really happens. If I work with you for 6 months on a show, really tight, and we solve a bunch of problems, and they don't see you for 5 years, I will never forget your name. I'll never forget anything, I'm just saying this because obviously but you're in my phone, and we've talked on Facebook, and we're friends and whatever, but we haven't seen each other in a long time. No. It's still the same thing, though. Yeah. I love it. It's a group of people that all work together, and it's a family. It's a big family.
Totally.
I think. And you have a lot of people that you went to school with that are still in film, or is there a lot of people that quit too? Or
yes, on both counts.
I bet, eh?
There's I know a couple people that have been successful in the animation field. I know some people that have gotten out. I know some people that are doing producing right now. Like there's a couple people that are working out in Toronto and doing great work.
Nice.
Directing in commercial land and all that. So it's apparently. I've been told that people that are working in Vancouver, particularly because to be self-employed in this area, particularly in the videography world, but it means that there's such a diverse skill set that is developed out of necessity that people that come from Vancouver to Toronto are very highly regarded,
right?
Because it is so competitive. Because the skill set needs to be so diversified.
Oh. And this was awesome. Like RoboCop, it was the first time that I've seen any huge gun battles, and it was spectacular. It was on a motorcycle's gun battle. Down the streets, and then through and ramp it up and through a window of the convention center.
Nice.
And then squibs going off everywhere, and it was just cool to watch, because usually a lot of the film I saw was all dialogue and all people doing whatever, and you'd see a couple stunts and on Supernatural and stuff. It was kind of cool, but this was just all stunts and massive robot fights and shit. It was awesome. Green screen everywhere. And
nice. I worked on a couple things that are just like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, have you worked on big movies like that?
A couple.
Nice.
Let's see. There was one second unit on one of Uwe Boll's films.
Okay.
Yeah. In the Name of the King, it came out as. And second unit, everyone was kind of making fun of the second unit director, because he had all the 4 or 6 cameras side by side. Different lenses, different kind of setting, but all pointing in the same direction. Oh. But you have something like 100 or 200 extras and heavy makeup and heavy downpour. It did look freaking cool. It's not a film that is necessarily going to be.
I love him. I love Mr. Bull. I met him at Bridge Studios and Bright Lights.
It's got such a personality.
I just went probably what was it? It was on Monday. This Monday.
Oh, really?
And it was "Fuck You All," the Uwe Boll story. It's a documentary that came out. And it is awesome. If you ever get a chance, actually, no, I think it's playing this weekend. I think it's playing Sunday. If you want at the Rio.
I've got a commitment, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, anyway, when it comes out, you'll love it. It's hilarious because Uwe Boll is Uwe. That's what they were called. Uwe Boll.
My mistake.
No, everyone says Uwe.
For the longest time, I thought it was you.
Yeah, I know.
Or Uwe.
Uwe.
Hello, Uwe Boll. How are you? It's French.
Well,
hello, Uwe.
There was a question and answer period with him at the end of it, and it was so cool. But the documentary's awesome. He just talks about. There's so many different things. I don't want to spoil it, obviously, but my friends worked on camera. Kyle James Patrick worked on camera, and I had a friend that was a producer on that, and I loved every minute of it.
I actually a friend of mine, one of the guys that I went to school with, did some producing work or associate producer on one of the films.
Okay.
On one of the Rampage films.
Nice.
But having kind of like a conversation about him, just like maybe kind of changed a lot of kind of perspective on him. Because in a lot of ways, like he does his own. He was his own producer. He was his own. Hit the pavement. And talk to people. He
was a producer's director.
He was a producer. He was full on hitting the pavement, making it happen with passion and it's for the love of the game. So. What time is it?
Oh, we got to start. We got to wrap this up. So, do you have anything you want to pitch? Is there anything out right now that you want to?
I guess we've spent a long time talking about big productions I've worked on a day job. Not really talked about any.
Well, I definitely will have you back to again because obviously we can talk for hours.
Oh, that'd be an absolute hoot, man.
Yeah.
Well, let's see the. I've got a short that I was. Director of photography, but I've been kind of handling the producing side on the back end now. It's a horror short film called Captured.
Captured, okay.
Yeah, about a guy that takes a photo of a haunted building and something follows him back.
Nice.
It's really tightly produced and really kind of creepy, full of atmosphere, and it doesn't go for the easy jump scares. I love it.
Nice. Yeah, it's not just shock.
Yeah. We've got kind of screwed up the timing with submitting for festivals. It's been in a couple, but we've got a whole bunch that we've pitched to that are going to be happening in a 6-week period between mid-September and all throughout October because horror. I've got on a completely different note. I'm finishing up a Story Hive pitch for a kind of documentary that's following performers.
Okay.
The idea that I'm kind of working with is the four classic elements. So performances based around those, and so the documentary will be divided into 4 different parts, and using fire spinners and using kind of silk fans, and then just grounded in earth, set in nature, and I think that I would love. I've got some footage in slow motion, 500 frames a second of all of these, dancing on the shoreline in the water as waves lap against feet. I mean, it's spectacular footage so far.
Cool.
With a camera that was actually developed locally as well.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Nice.
But I would love to get synchronized swimming with mermaids.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Anyway, so.
Well, you're doing a Disney show. Just talk to the siren people. They're all mermaids. That's the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
They know all about that.
Yeah. Anyway, check out Complacent Charlie, which has me.
I love Complacent Charlie. I laugh my head off. Oh my god, you have some really good ones.
Yeah, we've got a few good episodes. That's me with a much less prominent beard. Went from Viking to just like hipster, I guess.
That's when I first met you. You were just coming into the hipster mode.
Yeah. Another one that I directed was Body Art Movement, which is interviews and performances by performers in body paint.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
That 2 years ago now. Was it last year? Recently, I think it was last year. It was nominated in a few different categories at the Vancouver Web Fest.
Good for you.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you got some awards under your belt?
Not yet.
Not yet, but you're going for it, right?
Well,
I don't have any yet.
I spent a long time in the web world and web sphere, and you don't really get.
Right.
It's a lot harder to get into festivals, into places where you get awards. So I mean,
only some offer the web.
Yeah. I mean, I did get some recognition by a small local festival called Vancouver Web Fest. Sorry, no, not Shiza. Vancouver Channel, Vanchan.
Oh, Vanchan, yeah. I've heard of that.
Which is a hoot, which is an absolute hoot.
Nice.
I think it's on hiatus right now. I do hope it comes back. It had a great kind of culture there.
Yeah, though, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you. It was an absolute hoot.
Yeah, we will talk soon again. All right, take care, man.
Cheers.
That was fantastic. I love talking to Bren. He really knows his stuff for sure. Join me next Monday when I talk to two people, the director and producer from a documentary called Fuck You All, the Uwe Boll Story, which is a hilarious title. And it is Sean Shaw and Kayvon Saremi. They're great guys. So have a great week, and I will talk to you next Monday. Take care.